The stories we tell are the lives we live. The current state of your life is a direct result of the stories you tell and what you truly believe. Not what you say is possible, but what you deeply believe at your core. You receive what you tell your subconscious mind you deserve. Welcome to your awakening. Here we explore human potential and how to unlock it through spirituality supported by science. In this video, we'll look at how the way you talk about your life can become a self-fulfilling prophecy and how our personal traits play a major role in how we succeed in life. Dr. Joe Dispenza, an international author, lecturer, and researcher, has explained in detail how and why you need to rewrite the story of your life. His research combines neuroscience, epigenetics, and quantum physics to teach people how to heal themselves and fully unlock their potential. Using Dr. Dispenza's insights, we'll explore everything you need to know to stop living in the past and move toward a more prosperous future. Today, we'll look at specific methods that will change your life and how you can apply them in practice. This is knowledge you won't want to miss. So, without further delay, let's begin. Rewriting your life story. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, when people wake up, they start thinking about the problems in their lives. These problems are patterns and memories stored in the brain. Each of these memories is connected to certain people and things at specific times and in specific places in the world. The brain is essentially a record of the past, so the moment they begin their day, they're already thinking about the past. And each of these memories carries an emotional charge. Emotions are the end product of past experiences. So when they remember those past problems, they suddenly feel unhappy, sad, and in pain. You realize you've fallen into a repeating cycle, constantly reliving the same story. It's time to shift your perspective and focus on shaping your future instead of being defined by your past. Many of us spend years, maybe even decades, retelling the same story about our lives. We revisit the same problems, voice the same complaints, and give the same excuses. But now, more than ever, it's important to ask yourself, where has this approach taken us? The time has come for massive change, not just in our actions, but in how we fundamentally see ourselves. Now, how you think and what you feel create your state of being. So whenever a person begins their day thinking about the past, they enter into negative emotional states. And if your thoughts create your reality, then sooner or later, your familiar past will become a predictable future. We get trapped in the past, giving it far more attention than it deserves, dwelling on yesterday's events, last week's incidents, or even things that happened many years ago. We relive old wounds, disappointments, and failures. Similarly, we spend a significant amount of time worrying about the future, imagining negative outcomes. Dr. Dispenza states that by the age of 35, 95% of who we are is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, rigid beliefs, and perceptions that operate like a computer program. In other words, a person might consciously say with 5% of their mind, "I want to be healthy, I want to be happy, I want to be free." But their body is running a completely different program installed by the subconscious. This obsession with the past and anxiety about the future distract us from the only moment that truly matters, the present. It's important to understand that your past does not determine your future unless you keep dragging it into the present. So, how do you begin to change? Stop defining yourself by past experiences, old failures, and outdated limitations. Every time you do that, you create a future that reflects your past. Instead, start crafting a new story, one that focuses on who you aspire to become, what you want to achieve, and how you want to feel. Tell that new story with so much conviction and belief that your body begins to accept it as your reality. It's remarkable how our brain and body struggle to tell the difference between a real experience and one we vividly imagine. How changing your story can transform your reality. In Dr. Dispenza's approach, he says you need to go beyond the analytical mind, because it's the analytical mind that separates the conscious from the subconscious. Most people keep reinforcing their emotional states. So when it's time to let go of a particular emotion, they may say, "I really want to do this." But in truth, the body is stronger than the mind, because it's been conditioned that way. The servant has now become the master. And when a person suddenly steps into the unknown, they'd rather feel guilt and pain, because at least that's familiar and predictable. Being in the unknown is a frightening place for most people, because the unknown means uncertainty. And if your thoughts create your reality, then sooner or later, your familiar past will become a predictable future. We get trapped in the past, giving it far more attention than it deserves, dwelling on yesterday's events, last week's incidents, or even things that happened many years ago. We relive old wounds, disappointments, and failures. Similarly, we spend a significant amount of time worrying about the future, imagining negative outcomes. Dr. Dispenza states that by the age of 35, 95% of who we are is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, rigid beliefs, and perceptions that operate like a computer program. In other words, a person might consciously say with 5% of their mind, "I want to be healthy, I want to be happy, I want to be free," but their body is running a completely different program installed by the subconscious. This obsession with the past and anxiety about the future distract us from the only moment that truly matters, the present. It's important to understand that your past does not determine your future unless you keep dragging it into the present. So, how do you begin to change? Stop defining yourself by past experiences, old failures, and outdated limitations. Every time you do that, you create a future that reflects your past. Instead, start crafting a new story, one that focuses on who you aspire to become, what you want to achieve, and how you want to feel. Tell that new story with so much conviction and belief that your body begins to accept it as your reality. It's remarkable how our brain and body struggle to tell the difference between a real experience and one we vividly imagine. How changing your story can transform your reality. In Dr. Dispenza's approach, he says you need to go beyond the analytical mind, because it's the analytical mind that separates the conscious from the subconscious. Most people keep reinforcing their emotional states. So when it's time to let go of a particular emotion, they may say, "I really want to do this." But in truth, the body is stronger than the mind, because it's been conditioned that way. The servant has now become the master. And when a person suddenly steps into the unknown, they'd rather feel guilt and pain, because at least that's familiar and predictable. Being in the unknown is a frightening place for most people, because the unknown means uncertainty.
And this is where meditation comes in, because you can teach people how to practice changing their brainwaves, how to slow them down. When they do it properly, they enter into an operating system where real, meaningful change can begin to happen. When you start telling a new personal story, not about who you were, but about who you aspire to become, and you do it with genuine emotion and conviction, your body begins the process of transformation. Most people wait for a crisis, a trauma, an illness, a diagnosis, or a loss. They wait for some kind of tragedy to finally commit to change. But as Dr. Dispenza asks, why wait? You can choose to learn and grow through pain and suffering, or you can choose to change through joy and inspiration. People are waking up. Most people spend 70% of their lives in survival mode, living in constant stress. As a result, they always expect the worst-case scenario based on past experiences. Out of the infinite possibilities in the quantum field, they select the worst possible outcome and emotionally invest in it through fear, tuning their bodies to a state of fear. Your body is your subconscious mind. So if you're sitting and imagining some future worst-case scenario in your mind, your body begins to feel the emotions of that imagined event. Your body doesn't know the difference between a real event happening in your life and one you're creating through emotional thought alone. Do that enough times, and your body starts to trigger panic attacks on its own without your conscious input. You won't even see them coming because they've been programmed into the subconscious. That's why people become addicted to those emotional surges and use the problems and circumstances in their lives to validate their limitations. In that way, at least they get to feel something. Now, if you ask someone, why are you like this? Each time they recall that event, their brain and body produce the exact same chemical reactions as if the event were happening again. The same neural pathways fire and reconnect, sending the same emotional signals throughout the body. Most people, when they have a thought, just assume it's true. But one of the most powerful things Dr. Joe Dispenza says he realized is this: just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's true. If you're thinking 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of those thoughts are the same ones you had yesterday, and you believe that your thoughts are somehow connected to your destiny, your life won't change much, because the same thought leads to the same choice. The same choice leads to the same behavior. The same behavior creates the same experience, and the same experience produces the same emotion. The act of becoming aware of this process means you start to better understand how you think, how you act, and how you feel. This is called metacognition. Why is this important? Because the more conscious these unconscious states of mind and body become, the less likely you are to go through the day unaware, letting thoughts slip past your consciousness unchecked. Being mindful means getting to know yourself, and the word meditation means to become familiar with. So when you become familiar with the thoughts, behaviors, and emotions of the old self, you retire that old self and begin to introduce new thoughts and bring your body into a new emotional state. If you do this enough times, it will start to feel natural. Embracing your future self. The hardest part is emotionally teaching our body what the future will feel like before it actually happens. So what does that mean? You can't wait for success to feel empowered. You can't wait for wealth to feel abundant. You can't wait for love to appear in your new, beautiful relationship in order to feel love, or for healing to happen in order to feel whole. That's the old model of cause and effect. But the quantum model of reality is about causing an effect. The moment you start feeling abundant and worthy, you generate wealth. The moment you gain strength and feel it, you begin to move towards success. The moment you feel whole, your healing begins. And when you love yourself and love all of life, you create your future. Now you are causing the effect. You've been telling your old story for too long. Those neural pathways are well worn and the habits deeply rooted. It takes serious effort to break free from these established patterns and form new ones. Start the practice now. If possible, close your eyes. Take a deep breath and begin to imagine the person you want to become. Not who you think you should be or who others expect you to be, but the authentic version of yourself you truly want to embody. Visualize this future self in vivid detail. Mentally rehearse your actions. If you are truly present, the brain doesn't know the difference between what you imagine and what you experience in the 3D world. Then you begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain so that the positive future event feels as if it's already happened, right here, right now. That way, your brain is no longer just a record of the past, it becomes a map of the future. And if you keep priming it this way, the hardware becomes the software. And who knows, maybe you'll actually start behaving like a happy person. Observe how you look, how you move, how you speak, how you feel, what kind of energy you give off, and what kind of influence you have on the people around you. While holding that image of your future self, begin to feel the emotions associated with being that person. Feel the confidence, the joy, the sense of purpose and self-fulfillment. Let those feelings soak into every cell of your body. As you immerse yourself in those emotions, think, what thoughts would this future version of me have? What beliefs would I hold? What story would I tell about my life right now? Open your eyes, take a deep breath, and make the commitment to start living that new story from this moment on. Start thinking new thoughts and feeling new emotions. Don't limit this practice to meditation or visualization sessions. Integrate it into your entire day. When you wake up, brush your teeth, go to work, or talk to others, consciously embody your future self. Think their thoughts, feel their emotions, tell their story. At first, it might feel unfamiliar. There will likely be moments when you slip back into old patterns. That's completely normal. Gently remind yourself and return to your new state of being. Every time you choose your future self over your past self, you reinforce new neural pathways and strengthen those new patterns, making the transformation into this new version of yourself easier and more natural. When you practice this consistently, day after day, week after week, something amazing begins to happen. Your outer reality starts to shift in response to your inner state. New opportunities arise, and people begin to treat you differently, responding to your new energy. Situations that once triggered your old patterns no longer have the same effect. You begin to notice synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to guide you toward your goals. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people who can help you on your path. This isn't magic or mysticism, it's the result of your transformed outlook on life. When you change your internal state, your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, you change the energy you project into the world. That shift in energy changes what you attract and how you perceive your surroundings. Start paying attention to your energy. Notice how you feel throughout the day. Are you acting from a place of fear or love, scarcity or abundance, reaction or creation? When you realize you're not in the desired state, don't fall into self-judgment or criticism. Instead, gently guide yourself back to the state of being you wish to embody. Step into your future self. How flexible is your personality? You've probably heard this saying, "A leopard can't change its spots," referring to the idea that personality is fixed early in life. And while personality may appear consistent day to day, research shows that adult personality is more malleable than previously believed. Studies have shown that over time, people do in fact change. On average, they display measurable signs of maturity, which can be tracked through personality assessments. Deliberate attempts to change one's personality are something else entirely, but those have also been studied. Recent research has confirmed the possibility of self-directed change. One smartphone-based study found that completing daily tasks, watching short video clips, and receiving personalized prompts over a 3-month period led to short-term improvements in self-discipline, extroversion, and emotional stability. Similarly, researchers found that therapeutic interventions showed promising results in reducing neuroticism in as little as 8 weeks. Many of us at some point have felt the desire to reinvent ourselves, whether driven by personal aspirations or by societal pressure to constantly self-improve. Overall, research shows that the traits people most often want to enhance are self-discipline and assertiveness, while reducing anxiety and neuroticism. First of all, you truly need a lot of self-reflection. We can't just wake up one day and wish to become someone else. We need to understand the deeper motives behind our desires. Are our changes driven by positive motives like ambition or love, or negative ones like a toxic boss, fear, or regret? A review of behavioral change studies showed that positive motives, such as being passionate about your role or love for a partner, are more likely to lead to successful transformation than negative motives like fear or regret. So, what's your reason for wanting to change? You also need a plan. We often naively believe that simply setting an intention to change is enough, but that's only a quarter of the battle. For example, many of us set goals or New Year's resolutions at the start of the year. We make grand plans, but very few of us actually map out how we're going to achieve those goals. Without a plan, we get distracted, forget, or become lazy. You need an action plan to keep you on track. Set a specific goal, like discipline. Then, create a strategy. Give yourself 6 weeks and gradually reduce distractions each week. For instance, don't look at your phone between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., or increase your daily meditation time by 5 minutes each week. And celebrate your progress. If you used to meditate for only 5 minutes and now can do 10, that's fantastic. Viewing behavior as something we try on can help us push past the initial difficulty of change until eventually it becomes more natural. How do you sustain your new story? The best thing you can do is not overlook the small wins. Remember, the beginning is a delicate time. Start small. Don't try to make huge leaps all at once. There are 2 psychological principles that help explain how starting small can launch an upward trajectory that leads to lasting personality change. The first is reinforcement. The idea that when a behavior is followed by a rewarding experience, it increases the likelihood of that behavior happening again in the future. This could look like adding something pleasant, such as having an article accepted for publication, or feeling proud after seeing your hard work pay off. It could also mean removing something negative, like how planning ahead eliminates the stress of not having reliable childcare. Another key principle that plays a role in personality change is identity, how we see ourselves. Identity goes hand in hand with behavior. If I see myself as someone who needs last-minute adrenaline to get things done, I'll probably cram the night before. But if I view myself as a capable person that others depend on, I'm more likely to at least try to get things done early. Cognitive strategies can help disrupt rigid thought patterns. I don't literally need adrenaline to study a week in advance. Nothing is stopping me from doing a little bit each day. Even a slight shift in perspective can be enough to try a new behavior. And if that behavior gets reinforced, you're more likely to keep doing it in the future. And when you start acting differently, you're more likely to see yourself differently too. Let your dreams dictate the traits you develop, not the other way around. Pay close attention to any self-limiting beliefs, like, I can't do X because I'm not X enough. Challenge that way of thinking. Notice patterns of behavior that help you avoid getting stuck. Ask yourself, how would someone with the trait I want behave? Try it, and see what happens. And finally, savor the rewards you earn through these changes. Appreciate the wins, however small. They're the foundation of lasting transformation. It's a good feeling, and it will keep pushing you forward. Our brains are wired for negativity, so we have to work hard to build those positive circuits. While everyone keeps a to-do list, try writing a done list instead. Practice jotting down everything you appreciate and feel grateful for at the end of the day. No detail is too small. This isn't just an antidote to depression or anger. It also helps train your brain to notice more positive moments in your life. What happens in the brain when you rewrite your story? If personality is one of the strongest and most consistent predictors of subjective well-being, then can personality actually change? The answer is yes. Personality does change. But how does that happen? Personality doesn't stop evolving at a certain age. Most people go through life events that open their eyes to a new understanding of the world. For example, someone carefree and cheerful might become more serious and guarded after experiencing abuse in a relationship. On the other hand, someone who's stern and closed off might become happier and more engaged after discovering a spiritual path that offers them closure and answers. Every day, life presents experiences and situations that evoke responses, and sometimes those experiences can radically reshape who we are and how we think. Expected events don't usually cause personality shifts because they follow familiar patterns, but unexpected events give new weight to traits that already exist within us. As you begin to tell yourself a new story about your life, your brain starts to form new neural pathways, different genes are activated, and your cells begin to produce new proteins. You literally start becoming a new person, not just metaphorically, but on a biological and physical level. This transformation happens on the cellular, atomic, and even quantum field levels. Today we know our genes do not predetermine our destiny. Our brains are not fixed. They're plastic, constantly reshaping in response to our thoughts and experiences. Our bodies and minds are not separate. They are deeply interconnected. Our emotional state directly influences our physical health, and vice versa. If you wake up in the morning and you're not defined by a vision of the future, because you're seeing the same people, going to the same places, doing the same things at the same time, then it's no longer your personality creating your personal reality. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, at that point your personal reality is influencing, or even creating your personality. Your environment is truly controlling the way you think and feel, unconsciously, because every person, everything, every place, and every experience has a neurological network in your brain. Every experience you have with a person triggers an emotion. So some people use their boss to reinforce their addiction to judgment, or their enemy to reinforce their addiction to hate. So now people need the external world just to feel something. To change that is to become greater than your environment, greater than the conditions in your world. But the environment is seductive, and that's what makes it difficult. When you start telling a new story, with a new future and a new version of yourself in mind, a cascade of changes begins to flow through your entire being. Your brain begins to rewire, your body begins to heal, and your energy field begins to shift. Amazingly, as you change, so does the world around you. You're no longer the same person emitting the same old signals and attracting the same old experiences. Instead, you become a new personality, vibrating at a different frequency, drawing in new opportunities and experiences. This is how some people seem to undergo incredible life transformations. It's not a matter of luck or magic. It's the power of changing your internal state, your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, and maintaining that new state long enough for your external reality to align with it. But this process takes effort, dedication, and consistent practice. Changing your personal narrative, and therefore your reality, is a powerful tool for personal growth and transformation. But it requires commitment and persistence to see long-term results. A daily practice of becoming your future self. Take a pause. Take a deep breath and make a conscious choice. Choose to shift your focus. Choose to change your state of being. Choose to embody the person you aspire to be in every moment. As Dr. Dispenza says, every time you become aware of what you're doing, every time your body craves those familiar emotions and you pull it back into the present moment, you're saying to your body, you're no longer the mind. You are the mind,
and now your will is becoming stronger than the program. If you keep doing that again and again, eventually the moment will come when the body is no longer the mind and it fully surrenders. That's when energy is released. Your reality shifts from particle to wave, from matter to energy, and we become free from the emotional chains that have kept us locked in the familiar past.
It's not always easy. There will be moments when you slip back into old patterns, times when you lose awareness and fall back into reactive modes. That's normal. It's part of the process. The key is developing quick self-awareness, spending less time in those old states and more time reinforcing the new ones. When you practice this consistently, day after day, week after week, you'll begin to notice real change. Things that once irritated you will lose their power. Problems that used to overwhelm you will start to look like opportunities for growth. Goals that once seemed impossible will begin to feel inevitable. That's because you're no longer the person you were at the start of this journey. You're evolving, growing, and becoming more authentically yourself with each passing day. The most beautiful part of this process is that there is no limit, no ceiling to your potential. You can continue to expand, to grow, and to become more for as long as you choose to. That's the true adventure of life. This is what it means to truly live, not just to exist or go in circles, but to be fully engaged in life, seeing each moment as a chance to learn, grow, and improve.